down the street, it's a beautiful day. Come on, let's visit Mrs. Kane and Miss Jane. They always have something fun to say on Porch Story today.
Good morning and good afternoon and good day to all of our friends and viewers. Miss Kane, I'm so happy to be here, aren't you?
It's been a while. I'm very, very happy.
We are so glad that you guys could join us here for another episode, season 2 of Porch Stories with Mrs. Kane and Miss Jane. I know, and here we are together again.
Exactly. So like our last Porch Stories, we're going to start with our 3-second mindful breathing. It's just a nice way to calm ourselves down and get focused. So I'm going to tap my singing bowl and I pop my hand right here and I'm going to breathe 3 breaths and maybe you would do the same thing so you can get calm too. So here we go. Oh, I needed that.
I'm still using it.
You're still
I'm a slow breather, Mrs. Kane. Oh, and let me take the beautiful little pillow. Now, what is this bowl made out of? I was going to ask you earlier. Is it brass?
I think it's brass.
Brass or copper?
It's over 100 years old.
Oh my goodness, so it's actually older than I am. Exciting. I'm going to put this over here. So, as we've done with Porch Stories in the past, we have a book directly connecting to an art form or an artist. And Mrs. Kane, what's the book you have for us today?
My name is Georgia. A portrait by Jeanette Winter.
Oh my goodness. So, what do we call the front of the book again, Mrs. Kane?
It's the front of the book, but remember you normally have this part of the book.
Oh my gosh.
What do you call this?
I like to have the jacket. Although I'll tell you right now, I'm not putting a jacket on right now.
Oh, it's too hot.
It's too warm right now. But this is what we call the dust jacket. Now I know a lot of times in the library you'll have this with a special plastic over it, right?
Yes, I do. It protects the book.
Yes.
Because many hands touch them and then they get dirty and it's just good to protect them.
It is. It's a little protective coating. So we have our front cover. What do we call this again, Mrs. Kane?
That is the spine.
And then this side of the book is?
That's the back cover.
I know, it's just kind of being silly with
I
that.
know,
I know. Okay.
I know.
Well, I will let you start the story. And boys and girls, you might remember, I, of course, will very respectfully interrupt and add little art inserts into this, correct?
Yes, she will.
All right, I'll put this over here. Begin.
My name is Georgia, a portrait by Jeanette Winter. Silver Whistle Hardcourt Brace and Company. That is all the information that you will find on the title page of a book.
I love that.
The author, the illustrator, the title, and the publishing company.
There we go. Important information.
Yes. Georgia O'Keeffe was born on a farm in Wisconsin in 1887.
1887, quite a while ago.
Yes. When I was 12 years old, I knew what I wanted, to be an artist. I've always known what I wanted. When I was small, I played alone for hours and hours and hours. I was satisfied to be all by myself.
My goodness, so she was kind of maybe what we might think of as like an introvert, maybe just a person who really could entertain themselves.
Exactly. I did things that other people don't do. When my sisters wore sashes, I didn't. When my sisters wore stockings, I wore none. And when my sisters wore braids, I let my black hair fly.
Oh my goodness. She was kind of a little bit of a rebel early on.
Yes, she did what she wanted.
That's it, exactly.
Which is good. That's a good thing too.
It is important to be an independent thinker, but to still be safe.
Exactly.
Right?
I rode to town every Saturday to copy pictures from the stack in the art teacher's cupboard. At home, I looked out my window and drew pictures of what I saw.
Now, artists oftentimes, and particularly when you're an early artist, and we like to call those an apprentice. And when you're an art apprentice, you will use observation and look at things and copy them. You know, Miss Kane, like when we're learning to write our alphabet, we look at the alphabet and we trace the letters, right?
That's right.
And so a lot of repetition. A lot of repetition.
Maybe I could make something beautiful. At school in Chicago, I drew from statues in the museum. At school in New York, I painted one still life painting a day, every day.
Oh my goodness.
At school, I painted my teacher's ideas.
See, and that's a lot of times in education, you are following the instructor's guidelines, you might be following a textbook's guidelines. And I went to art school and we spent hours creating artwork inspired by our teachers, our professors, because that was their specialty. Then by your second or third year, they start encouraging you
To use
your ideas. But you're getting a skill set. You're getting techniques. You're learning a craft. You're going, oh wait, I really want to know about color blending, as opposed to just randomly doing it, which you can learn from as well. But in an instructor setting, you're sometimes following those guidelines.
But when school days were over, I went out into the wide world to discover my own ideas.
There you go.
I went to the Texas Plains, the wild west of my childhood books. You have never seen sky. It is wonderful.
The sky in Texas, a lot of times if you live at a place that maybe has tall buildings or has mountains, you do not see an endless horizon. And so someplace like a field in Texas or Kansas or New Mexico, you would have what they call a wide open horizon. So a huge amount of sky, right, Mrs.
Lots
Kane?
of blue.
Lots of blue.
I walked into the sunset.
Oh,
I felt the wind across the plains.
oh my goodness.
And I painted the sunset and the sky and the wonderful loneliness and emptiness of the place. I painted day and night. I worked till my head all felt light in the top. I have things in my head that are not like what others, but not like what anyone has taught me. Shapes and ideas.
So, you know, sometimes when we have things that might seem odd to other people, we might be worried like, why do I have these ideas? Or they're very unique or strange. And I think Georgia was at a place where she was kind of discovering what you might call her own artistic voice.
Yes. But I bundled up my paintings and went to New York City to be where other artists lived. I walked down in the canyons of steel.
Canyons of steel. What do you think she means when she says canyons of steel?
I'm thinking the tall buildings.
I'm thinking the tall buildings too, because they're not really like mountains, but
No.
yet they could feel like that, right?
Yes.
And you're down in there. I bet she felt really small, don't you?
That and look at, you don't get to see the sky.
Oh,
like
that is
in
such a
Texas.
good connection, because, and she grew up where there were plains and prairies.
Yes, right.
Oh my gosh.
I lived high up in the clouds and painted what I saw from my window. But sometimes what I saw from my window was the far away calling me.
The far away calling me. Kind of like how that sounds. It almost sounds a little like something that would be in a song.
I painted a garden in the city. I wanted everyone to see flowers the way I saw them. I looked closely at the flowers.
Now, Mrs. Kane, you're a gardener,
Mhm.
and so if you had to live somewhere that really didn't have gardens, that would be something you would miss, wouldn't it?
Yes, and well, the color.
Exactly.
The color and the smells of flowers.
And do you think flowers kind of tell you seasons too?
Exactly.
You know? So I think it would be hard in a canyon of steel, if you didn't have flowers around you a lot, to really feel maybe the seasons.
You know what? But I kind of think now more and more big cities, kind of like San Francisco, are planting more trees.
You are
and planting
absolutely
little green areas in front of their little houses that they have.
right.
That are next to each other.
You know what? And I completely forgot. How about beautiful Central Park in New York?
There you go.
So I bet people go there when they live in the cities. They probably even enjoy the parks more because they are a reminder. That is good. I'm glad you made that connection.
I painted a chameleon. I painted it big so people would notice. I painted a jack in the pulpit. I painted it big so people would see.
Now, why did you say the word big? Was there a hint on the page that made you say the word big?
Yes, there was. They were all in capital letters.
So, like, the words kind of gave you a hint on how you should think about it.
Exactly.
I love it. And also, here in Sacramento, I believe that the camellia is our city flower.
Yes, it is our city flower.
Oh my gosh.
I painted poppies and petunias and sunflowers and jimson weeds and irises and apple blossoms. My garden bloomed until everyone saw the flowers the way I saw them. But still, I looked to the sky. The distance has always been calling me. Oh, so she wanted to go somewhere, huh?
I think she had, like, what my mom would say, kind of a hankering to go somewhere. Like a longing or a desire.
I went to the New Mexico desert, so far away that no one ever comes. I was satisfied to be all by myself. I would be lonely.
I know. I think
I would miss you.
Oh, I would miss you too. And I think, but we kind of saw, I think, what I call a foreshadowing.
Yes.
When she talked about being one of those groups of sisters, but preferring to be alone.
Exactly. She could entertain herself by
Exactly. It doesn't mean she preferred to be lonely. Those are not the same.
That's true.
You know, those are very different. I'm sorry, go ahead.
It was too dry for the flowers to grow, but there were bones.
Now, why would there be bones there in the desert? Why do you think that was? Do you have any ideas on that, Mrs. Kane?
Well,
I know.
if an animal died.
An animal dies. So animals, our skin, our muscles, all this is a lot of liquid, a lot of water. And when a creature dies and it's in the desert winds come, the sand will do what we call abrade it away. Eventually, all the soft parts kind of dissolve away, but the bones, very hard. And the bones get polished with the sand rubbing against it. I imagine it's almost like the ocean with seashells, wouldn't you think?
Yes, because the shells are part of little animals' bodies.
That's it. And they would get brushed by the sand. Oh my gosh.
And the ocean water.
Exactly. So it would soften them up just like the bones in the desert.
I gathered the bones. Big bones, little bones, short bones, long bones, a cow's skull, a horse's skull, a ram's skull, and brought the bones home to paint. One day I held one up against the sky and saw that I saw the blue through the hole. I painted what I saw.
Now, as an artist, sometimes we refer to space as positive and negative. And you know, Miss Kane, sometimes when you hear the word like negative space, it doesn't mean like it's bad.
No.
Oh, you had a negative attitude. It means space that comes forward and space that goes back. So through that hole,
She's
the background, but because it's encased in that hole or surrounded like a frame, it almost makes it pop forward too. Isn't
brings
that
it
fun?
to your attention, right?
Exactly. It frames it in there like a little stage.
I saw the sky and the red hills. I walked in the hills at daybreak and twilight, at noon and in starlight. I painted the arms of 2 red hills, reaching out to the sky and holding it.
Oh my goodness.
Shows you she's painting on this picture.
Well, we know from early on, this woman paints every day, all the time.
Yes, she does.
She's a worker bee.
I painted the Pedernal Mountain
Yes.
in the far away. I painted it over and over and over again. And then again and again. So practice makes perfect, right?
There we go. I always like to say practice makes progress.
Progress.
I mean, perfection is a nice, like, kind of aim, but I don't know if we ever get there, Miss Kane, and I don't want to be frustrated. So I'm just happy sometimes making some progress.
Oh, you're perfect, Miss Jane.
I'm a perfectly Miss Jane, and
That's
you're
right.
perfectly Miss Kane.
God told me if I painted that mountain enough, He'd give it to me.
You know what? I love that idea because you know how we'll do like a wish on a star?
Yes.
So I wish on a star, she wishes on a mountain.
I drove my Model A across the desert and back, and up and down over the hills. I painted in my studio on wheels until the afternoon bees chased me home.
Oh my
Look at how they have bees all, you can see, bees all around in here, chasing her home.
And they actually, in the museum, they have a whole setup of how she painted in the back of her car. She had a little fold-out palette, and she was able to keep everything contained so that when she drove, like, colors didn't get all mixed up. She was very organized. She might have been a librarian.
Even in winter, I went far out into the faraway and painted in the bitter cold.
Oh,
I painted when the wind was so strong it nearly blew me away.
oh my goodness. I don't know. That's some dedication, isn't it?
Well, she must love paint.
Well, and also if you think about it, she loved the sky, so
Yeah.
you'd want to get it not just when it's blue,
Mhm.
but when you have different weather coming through. Turner was like that too. So
Turner who?
Turner is an artist, and he was known for, he was so captivated by sky
Mhm.
that when he was on a sailing vessel, and this is in the 1700s, he asked them to strap him to the mast when a storm came because he wanted to observe it
See the colors?
and see the colors and the way the lightning was. Of course, everybody on the crew thought he was crazy, but that's a whole other story.
I did things other people don't do. I climbed my ladder to the night sky to wait for the sun. I slept under the stars to see the morning sky when I woke.
I could see you doing that.
I stayed in the desert. My hair turned from black to gray to white as the bones. I still walked the red hills. My pile of bones grew. My flowers bloomed in the desert. And the pedernal was mine.
Oh, I love that.
And the sky. Oh, it was still wonderful. I painted the sky one more time. I painted my sky big, so people would see the sky the way I did. I worked from dawn to dusk every day for weeks and months just to paint a sky.
Well, the canvas was huge. I want to say it's over 20 feet long.
Oh, well,
And it's
kind of a...
It's like the kind of thing that you almost feel is a background or
Mhm.
stage setting because she wanted you to feel like you were in her sky.
You could see it the way she sees
Exactly.
it.
So she made kind of helped transport us there because we all can't go to New Mexico, and so she shared that vision.
Then, as I painted the last cloud, the sun slipped behind the pedernal. I laid my brushes down, kissed the sky for me.
Oh,
Georgia O'Keeffe lived to be 98 years old. In museums all across the land, people see her flowers, deserts, hills, cities, and skies the way she did.
what a beautiful book to start our new season, Mrs. King. So, did you have a favorite part? I mean, I kind of liked all of it, but I didn't know if you had a favorite part.
Kind of, you know, when she painted all the poppies.
I know, when she's in
the
New York.
colors, and she painted the flowers.
So what the book didn't tell us is when Georgia O'Keeffe went to New York, she met an artist there. His name was Stieglitz, Alfred Stieglitz, and he kind of fell in love with her and her artwork. He was a photographer, and he really supported and encouraged her career. Now, he was considerably older. His family was located on the East Coast, and so they would do family trips up to upstate New York and things like that. So Georgia in the summer would get to see some green and some nature out of New York City and Central Park. But she kept telling him, I really love New Mexico. I really love New Mexico. So when he passed away, that's when she permanently located to New Mexico. Now, Mrs. Kane, I was lucky enough in 2016 to actually get to go to New Mexico and visit some of the artifacts of Georgia O'Keeffe's life.
Jack went.
Yes, we went. So I brought a few of these things, but one thing I do want to share with you guys that I didn't buy at the museum, but I wanted to share this little teeny skull. Now, this is not the size of a cow skull or a deer skull. This is a little teeny, probably some type of a little marmot or something. But the beauty of skulls, I know a lot of people think, oh, that's incredibly creepy. But body and our human body, the animal bodies are all part of nature and are all quite beautiful. And I can kind of understand how Georgia was fascinated with those eye socket holes. So just really interesting, capturing a little image. I can see you guys through here. So I have postcards that I gathered when I went to see the Georgia O'Keeffe Museum. One of the things I found interesting there, Mrs. Kane, they had, that is the mountain, they had a collection of her paints, and she created like over 50 values of green. Okay, she was considered a modernist artist, and then these are pictures that she painted of her mountain, and you can see with all the different, and we'll show close-ups of these, all the different weather and times of day and angles. Oh, I like this. I have like a little photo assistant here. Sometimes we have a lot of pictures of Georgia O'Keeffe where she's very stern looking. She looks like she's going to be like, you kids get out of my yard. But I think Georgia O'Keeffe was actually a little bit of a pixie as well. And she had a little bit of a sass about her that I completely relate to. Now, she had to be a bit of an adventurist to go from the Midwest to Chicago to New York and then on her own to move to New Mexico. And Mrs. Kane, here's a really interesting connection. Oh, I love that picture. I'll show that in a minute. Remember that we've talked about Frida Kahlo?
Yes.
And then we've also talked about
Yayoi.
So the connecting element is Georgia O'Keeffe supported and was encouraging to both of those young artists.
When they were first starting out and were not well known at all.
Not at all. And we're feeling, I would imagine, maybe a little scared or frustrated. They wrote letters, not emails, and they communicated with Georgia, and she wrote back and was supportive of their adventures.
Helped them.
Exactly. And she actually met Georgia O'Keeffe, and so they actually had a correspondence, and they did manage to meet each other. I mean, Georgia O'Keeffe. This is Georgia O'Keeffe.
Yes.
Georgia O'Keeffe met Frida Kahlo at Diego Rivera's opening for his mural show. She told Yayoi Kusama to come to New York City.
Yes, she did.
And then she actually introduced her to her own art agent to help her get an art show. So it's just like, we help our friends, right?
I think it's another way of being kind.
Yes.
Sharing and caring
I like
about
that.
other people and not just yourself.
Not being selfish.
Exactly.
Because Georgia could have chosen, because by the time they reached out to her, Georgia was already well known, and she could have said, I'm already famous. What do I need you kids bugging me for? Instead, she spent the time to write a letter, a personal letter, and say, stick with it, follow your dreams, come to New York, study art, be around other artists. Because, Mrs. Kane, like being around you makes me want to read more books, makes me want to learn more about gardening, and I hope that I make you interested in art.
Very much so. I've learned so much about art because I didn't grow up
Exactly.
learning about art. No one really taught me about art.
And so our friends share their interests, and then we all become better from it, right?
Exactly.
Now, the last thing I want to show is this is a book called We Are Artists, and it's called Women Who Made Their Mark on the World. And what I really like about this is it's a dozen artists, might even be more, and they're not long chapters about them, but they talk about how they've made art, the things that were important to them, and then it also sometimes will make a connection of how they might have known each other because they're from all different times. And they refer to Georgia O'Keeffe as a modernist because she didn't have one certain style, and she really was a kind of bridge between realistic, because you can tell what these are, right? But then it starts getting a little abstracted, and some of hers would just be colors. But it would be such a close-up that until you knew it was a close-up, you would think, oh, this is an abstract. And you're like, what, that's the stem of a flower?
Yes.
So we hope you've enjoyed learning about another artist, Miss Georgia O'Keeffe, American artist, pioneer of modernist painting, known for her flowers and skulls. But I think she was also an independent spirit, wouldn't you say?
Exactly. To be able to go to a desert, really.
I know, on your own.
On your own and survive.
Well, and kind of set up your own house. And I want to say she was in her 40s when she did that, so she wasn't a teenager.
Yeah.
So we will be presenting additional porch stories in the future, but we hope you've enjoyed this. We want you to stay safe.
Yes.
Keep reading, wouldn't you say, Mrs. King?
Oh, of course. Please keep reading. That's so important.
Keep making things. Try not to make everybody in your family crazy, okay? So be happy, find joy, be safe, and we're going to wave to you guys. We love you.
Take care, everyone.